Hello everyone, in this video we are going to be covering the topics of mean, median and mode and how to calculate them using the NumPy module, and we're going to be taking a few examples as well. So let's begin with mean. So I'm sure many of you already know that mean is the sum of all observations divided by total number of observations, right? So let's call this n total observations. So how to do that in Python? Now first thing we would do is import numpy as np, and let us create a numpy array, and the array will have 1 3 5 7 and 9. So let's first hard code it without using the numpy module. So mean would be equal to sum of array divided by length of array, right? So sum of all the elements in the array divided by the total length of the array. So if I print mean, I get 5, which is the correct answer. Now if I want to use the numpy module, so I would just use the np.mean function. So np.mean of array, and I would get 5, which is the exact same answer that I wanted. Right now, in some cases there would probably be the need to take out a weighted average rather than a mean. So for example, if I have this array which is 1 3 5 7 and 9, right? So now rather than just summing up all the observations and dividing it by the total length, I would want that the mean should be a weighted average. So something like this, that I would add weights to the observation. So 1 into 1 plus 3 into 2 plus 5 into 3, 7 into 4, 9 into 5 divided by total number of observations, that is 5, right? So this is known as a weighted average. So Python NumPy has an inbuilt module for that as well. So array would remain same, right? Array would remain same, and let the weights be, if I define the weights, and the weights can be 1 2 3 4 5 as discussed earlier, and the function used would be np.average of array, and I'd pass the parameter of weights. So now the average, the weighted average, which was without the weights 5, has now been turned into 6.33. Okay, now what if the array that we have at hand is two-dimensional, right? So array 1 is a two-dimensional array. So now what is the mean going to be? Let us just find out. If I just type in array 1, what is the mean going to be? So now if I type in mean of array 1, it would just sum up all the elements, that is 1 2 3 4 5 6. The sum should come up to, I think, 10 plus 15. So yeah, the sum should be divided by the total number of observations. So 21 divided by 6, that is 3.5, right? This is what the mean of a two-dimensional array would be: sum of all elements divided by the total number of elements. So the mean function would consider this array as a single dimensional array, right? But now what if I do not want this array to be considered as a single dimensional array? What if I want the means of all the rows separately, right? So now the array that we have is something like this, right? This is our array. So what if I want my mean along a particular row, or along the row, or if I want my mean along the columns? What then? So in such scenario, I would pass a parameter that is known as axis. So axis, if I type in 0, so it would mean that I am calculating the mean across the row. Let me just explain to you in a better manner. So if this is my array 1 2 3 4 5 6, this is a 2 cross 3 matrix, and if I type in axis 0, so axis 0 means along the row. So along the row would mean mean of 1 comma 4. It will go in this direction, but each column would be considered, right? So it is said along the row because it is going from 1, then 2, then 3, but technically it is considering every column. So it is along the row considering every column, right? So mean of 1 comma 4 would be taken, then mean of 2 comma 5 would be taken, and then mean of 3 comma 6 would be taken. If I do not want it to be along the row, I want it to be along the columns, then I would type in x is equal to 1. We'll see how that result turns out, right? So 1 and 4 mean would be 2.5. 2 and 5 mean would be 3.5, and the mean of 3 and 6 would be 4.5. Now if I type in x is equal to 1, so the mean of 1, 2 and 3 would be taken. So the sum is 6 divided by total number of observations, that is 3, and the mean would be 2. Okay, so similarly we can decide which axis along which we want to calculate the mean. 0 means along the row considering every column, and axis 1 means along the column considering every different row. Okay, so now we are clear with mean and we are clear with average. So let's now consider the median. So assuming I have an array, right? So if I want to calculate the median, first thing I will do is I will sort the array at hand. In the example that we just took, the array was 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, which is already sorted in ascending order, right? So one important thing, sort in ascending order. So the array is sorted in ascending order. Now what to do is you will check the length of the array. Let's name it n, and n is length of the array. Now the median of this array would be, there are two possible options. Option number 1, n modulo 2 equal to 1, which means n is odd. Okay, and another option is n modulo 2 equal to 0. So if n is odd, then the median of the array would be n plus 1 by 2th element, that is, in this case n is 5, right? So 5 is odd, 5 plus 1 equals 6, 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So if we consider this element to be the first element, then the median would be third element, that is 5. Okay. However, if n is divisible by 2, right, n modulo 2 is equal to 0, then what will the median be? Median would be, I'm just putting the formula out there and then I'll explain to you. This is the formula for median if the total number of elements are even. Let us take a simpler array, 1, 3, 5, 7, right? Length is 4. So now if the length is 4 and we have to find out the median, so n, that is the length of the array, is even. So n divided by 2. Basically you check the two middle elements, right? So yeah, so the two middle elements would be 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 divided by 2, which is equal to 4. So 4 would be the median of this array. Okay, we have a function in place for that. If the array is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 and np dot median of array, we get 5. If I remove the 9 and now I check the median, it is 4. Okay, so this is the two basic functions of mean and median. However, now you would think that there should be a mode function in NumPy also. However, there is no such function known as np.mode. If you want to find out the mode in an array, you would have to use other functions. NumPy directly does not have a mode function. Let me explain to you what mode is. Now imagine you have an array 1, 3, 3, 3, 5, 5, 9. Now the mode of this array would be maximum occurrence of an element. Okay, So an element that occurs the maximum number of time would be the mode of the array. In this scenario, as you can see, 3 occurs 3 times, so 3 is the mode of this array. Okay, now how do you find out mode? One way is manually you check that which element occurs the maximum times. How do you do that? You create a counter basically finds out a count of all the elements in the array, that how many times a particular element is occurring, right? This topic will be covered at a later stage also. You can see its past videos also. I have made some videos on counter, so even if you cannot understand at this moment, don't worry, you'll get it later on. So now imagine the array 1 3 3 3 3 5 5 7 9, right? So we are going to be using inbuilt library called collections, and it has the function counter. So if I want to create a counter of the array, so now as you can see, it creates a count of how many times each element is occurring. So 1 is occurring once, 3 is occurring 4 times, 5 is occurring twice, and 7 and 9 are again occurring only once, right? So I get a dictionary which tells me. Now if I have to find out which element is occurring the maximum amount of times, so I'd use the function counter.mostCommon, and I want to find out the only one maximum, right? I do not want the top 2 or top 3, I just want the top first element which is occurring the maximum amount of times. So it gives me a tuple that okay, 3 is occurring 4 times, which is the maximum of any element. This is a method to find out the mode. In most cases you would not be required to find out the mode of an array, but if you do, this is the way to go about it. So I hope you're basically clear with how to find out mean, average and median of an array. And if there are any doubts, you can post them in the comment section and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much.